Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's live webinar. As usual, I'm your host, Dr. 𝗘𝗃𝗲𝗀 Siddiqui, and I have my co-host, Rob Trent. And we're going to be discussing today specifically Access Advisor with Pressalit. And we're going to be discussing about Pressalit, and we have a special guest today to introduce you. Rob, thank you very much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. It's been a busy week, but it's starting to get cold now, so I'm feeling the weather, but very good.
Yeah. So if you're watching this live webinar today and you don't have any clue who we are, I'm Dr. 𝗘𝗃𝗲𝗀, and I'm working with Access Advisor for nearly a year now, and we're working to create a visible, accessible places list with our Access Advisor methodology. So we have a website, and with that website, we will list most of the accessible places in the world. And Rob is the founder of Access Advisor. Rob, if you would give a little bit of introduction of yourself, please.
Yeah, well, I was born disabled. I'm quite been around a few years from now, and I started Access Advisor a few years ago, and we've been sort of looking and working to find people to partner with us, and one of the people we found to partner with us, and I'm delighted to say that Pressalit have rejoined us as a premium partner, and that's why we're speaking to Andrew Lowndes today, who is the UK sales director for Pressalit, and we're going to be talking to Andrew about Pressalit. Going to let him introduce himself, find out more about Pressalit, what they do, and what Andrew does specifically, and also how Access Advisor can help and support Pressalit in what they do.
Thank you, Rob. So we have our guest speaker, Andrew Lowndes, and he's from Pressalit. So Andrew, thank you very much for your valuable time and joining this live webinar. How are you today?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me, and hello to everyone out there. It's a pleasure to be here. Good.
Yeah. So as this is a live webinar, and I wanted to ask you, could you please introduce yourself to our audience, who you are, and why, and what you do?
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Andrew Lowndes, and I work for a Danish company called Pressalit, and I've actually worked for Pressalit for over 25 years now, so it must be a good place to work, and indeed it is. And Pressalit is a Danish company. We're known for designing accessible bathroom solutions for people, and we've been around since 1954. And I guess you could say that good design is in our DNA, if you like. And since the 1970s, we've focused quite heavily on supportive and assistive products for people with disabilities in the bathroom. But since the beginning of this century, we also extended that out to kitchens as well. So we do a variety of products which are designed for people with all sorts of disabilities. But not only that, I think where we start from is believing that we must provide flexible solutions, because no two people are going to be the same. So our thinking, and certainly part of our design process, is that things adapt to people. People don't need to adapt to things or rooms. And we take that philosophy very seriously on the bathroom side of things, specializing in flexible and adaptable solutions that adapt to different users.
That's a great introduction, Andrew. And thank you very much for joining today's live. And we may have some questions from the audience, and we will answer those questions specifically when in the next segment. Before I jump into question you, Andrew, I just wanted to ask Rob. Rob, as you know, we give an introduction to the audience in every episode. I think those people, they don't understand what is Access Advisor. Could you give a brief introduction about Access Advisor?
Yeah, certainly. I started Access Advisor because basically fed up with poor accessibility being described but not actually matching the reality. And so I thought it was a place where anybody who has a disability or friends of people who are disabled could rate and review places that are accessible. And since then it's grown into, we've set up a Facebook group, we have a community of 1,000 members, and we want to work also with partners like Pressalit who champion accessibility as much as we do and believe in accessibility. And I think, one of the things Andrew touched on then is that, the solutions must adapt to fit people, not the other way around. And that was something that I picked up on what Andrew was saying. And one of the things I think is important for me and has struck me in the last few years, and is a very good example of that, are the changing places facilities that are popping up all over the country. And I know that Pressalit has an involvement in those. And I was wondering if Andrew could talk about changing places in particular before we sort of move on to anything else, because I'm fascinated by changing places. I have to say that, I've been to places like centre parks in the last few years, and now they have a changing places facility, and it's so much easier for people like myself who can't manage, say, sort of what I would call ordinary standard accessible toilets. So Andrew, what is Pressalit's involvement in changing places?
Well, our involvement in changing places has kind of evolved, I guess, over the years. But changing places came about because people were challenging the general assumption that standard accessible toilets, if you can call them that were standardized in the building regulations, were suitable for all people. So many of our viewers and hearers might be familiar with standard accessible toilets. They're usually in a small room, which is about 1.5 meters wide by 2.2 meters in depth. And then you have a small toilet placed in the corner alongside a small sink. And things can get very tight and difficult to use. And when these layouts were originally introduced, they were intended for people that were independent, largely, who could perhaps position their chair alongside, or if they're using a wheelchair, and get themselves on and off the toilet independently. But for people who have more complex needs, a standard arrangement just isn't suitable. So the changing places toilets came about. They've been around for 20 odd years, I would say. And when they initially were being introduced, we had a bit more involvement in terms of designing layouts for people. And we were able to introduce a variety of different product solutions, including wash basins that would move left and right, so that the basin could be brought within reach of the toilet for hand washing and then moved out of the way to create space for wheelchairs and mobility equipment and carers and helpers. But as the Changing Places campaign gathered momentum and importance, standard arrangements were soon adopted by the British Standard. They came out into BS 8300 around about 2009, I think, from memory. And we have a layout which has been pretty much used consistently since then, with some modification. And we've seen almost a standardization of changing places, which is good and bad. So there are always two sides to the coin. But what we have seen, and what's really encouraging over the last few years especially, is just the increase in number of changing places.
Yeah.
So we've seen it grown from literally ground zero, a big fat zero, all the way up to something like 3,000 changing places in the United Kingdom. Mm-hmm. And the thrilling thing really for us as manufacturers and as an organization which is really passionate about inclusion and providing, as I said earlier, those solutions that adapt to different users, really thrilling thing for us is that we've seen the growth of changing places, not just in the UK, but in other countries around the world, most of which we're operating in. So Ireland, North America, Australia, New Zealand are at the forefront of changing places. And I do a little bit of work out in the Middle East from time to time. And we're starting to see people get interested in changing places in locations like the Gulf states, which is another good thing. Various aspects of changing places get picked up in other countries as well. So I do a little bit of work in India as well. We've seen the height adjustable change tables that feature in changing places introduced into public accessible facilities out there as well. So they don't call them the same name, but they're starting to pick up on some of these products which are featured in changing places. Changing places are also getting quite large now in Scandinavia, which is good because that's where our roots are as an organization, and other European countries like Germany as well, Holland and Belgium, they're starting to pick up on it as well. So it's really a facility, if you like, or an application which is fitting for our philosophy and fitting for the products that we specialize in as well. So that's why we're very keen to be associated with the Changing Places campaign, and also to educate people about changing places. That's one of the big things that we do with architects.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to ask one more question, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
I've just returned from a fortnight in Florida, Disney specifically, and I was really surprised that they didn't have, or I couldn't find a single changing places. And that's a sort of exact place where I would have thought something like a changing places facility or more than one would be absolutely perfect. Are there plans to sort of bring education to that area?
Yeah, well, they do actually have them. So they call them changing spaces. There's always going to be this difference in language, isn't it, and what people call things. But in the UK and other places like Ireland and Europe, typically a changing places features an adult-sized change table and a ceiling hoist to maneuver people around. You'll have a toilet away from the corner, so that's different from the standard arrangement that I mentioned right at the very beginning. So there's space all the way around the toilet for wheelchairs, mobility equipment and carers. And then there's a height adjustable sink. So that's usually the arrangement for changing places in the UK, Ireland, other countries. In the States, they're not quite so generous. But one of the reasons I believe is because their changing spaces are always made available to people. So they don't have restricted access, perhaps with radar keys or a security number that you need to put in. So usually it's just a height adjustable adult size change table. So those are in airports in the States. We've done some very good projects with airports. Pittsburgh is one that comes to mind. And also we do installations in sports stadia, football grounds, baseball stadia, places like that. So they are there, but perhaps the Changing Places campaign isn't as vocal as it is in other parts of the world. And the code isn't as generous. So we have the British standard that supports also DOCM in the UK, the same in Ireland. But the ADA, which is kind of an international code as well, is really quite limiting in terms of the amount of equipment which is provided for accessible toilets.
Okay, thank you.
So a bit of work there, but they are out there as well,
making progress.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Andrew. So as we talk about the accessibility and accessibility places, a few things I wanted to ask you in relation with the question, like, the organization is specifically, if it's a company, they are doing accessibility for the employee, or a social or a council. They are doing accessibility for their people in the society. How organization can make accessibility central to their design approach?
Well, I think there's a number of ways, in my opinion, they can do it. The first is to be listening to the people that use the building or the facility. So that's the key thing, to listen to user experience. But I also go back to the assumption that we've always gone along with, and that is that one particular room will never be suitable for everyone. And it's crucial that we adapt the built environment to people and not the other way around. So it's fancy words, if you like, but it is core to what we believe. But what that translates to most of the time is building in flexibility. So that isn't always flexibility in terms of products and in terms of what we offer within the Pressalit range. It might be a variety of things that you have in terms of flexibility. So it could be that if you're providing a particular service, you're prepared to go out and visit people. You don't always require them to come to you. So you need to have a flexible approach which adapts to different people's requirements, whatever that might be. But regarding the built environment, yeah, there's lots of things that we can do to build in flexibility, to future-proof rooms, not only bathrooms and toilets and kitchens, but elsewhere.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Talk about accessibility and how important is for the people to understand, because as Rob said about USA, he's just been visiting. And we also talk about my recent visit this year to the Legoland. So what I found that is not fully accessible for a person like me or person like Rob. How your organization is working with the big giant companies or corporation to facilitate a specifically tailored solution for us?
Yeah, was that Legoland in the UK or was it somewhere else? Yeah, well, Legoland, yeah, they do have changing places toilets. I don't know how well they're signposted. That's another issue, of course, because sometimes people build some lovely facilities, but if they don't let people know exactly where they are, then they don't get used. So that's part of the challenge, is making sure that there's clear signage to different things that people can benefit from in the physical built environment, but also online when people perhaps are searching a venue before they visit it. So there's always that job for the goods and services providers and organizations like Legoland. Certainly we would always champion those facilities like changing places, but we would also get involved in the design stage. So we do quite a lot of education with architects in the UK. We have a seminar which is approved by the Royal Institute of British Architects, and we do education with them. So at the design stage, after the event, it's more challenging. So trying to fix things afterwards is more difficult. But with the blank sheet of paper at the design stage, yeah, that's where we're active, and that's where we're trying to influence things.
That's a great explanation, Andrew. My next question to you, you do facilitate accessible toilets and kitchen. What's the biggest challenge you encounter every day for your day-to-day work?
The biggest challenge is always going to be space.
Yeah.
So especially in the UK. So yeah, it's just the size of bathrooms and kitchens, extremely small. So there are things that we can do to overcome space. But when you think that you've got to accommodate things like turning circles, you've got to accommodate the space of carers and assistants. Turning circles, for someone who's using a pair of sticks could be 1,200 millimeters across. For wheelchairs, they can be between 1,500 to over 2 meters. So 1,500 millimeters to 2,000 millimeters. And then when you factor in things like assistants working alongside people, helping them out, trying to squeeze that into a bathroom and a toilet, try to squeeze that into a kitchen in a domestic setting can be very difficult. So I would say, yeah, that's definitely the biggest challenge.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you very much for your question today. For your Rob, do you want to ask any additional question to Andrew?
Well, I think something that Andrew touched on earlier was quite important to me, and Andrew said about the standard toilets not being, very good. I mean, for people with more complex needs, I mean, my needs haven't necessarily changed, but with age and with, as you get older, you get less flexible. I'm now relying more on changing places, toilets than I was, when I was able to transfer with ease. And now, I'm heavier now, undoubtedly, and find transferring a lot more difficult. So changing places for me have become, a really good place. So when I go to a service station now, I can use a changing places facility there. And we're going to Centre Parks in December. And there are changing places facilities there, and it just makes the weekend so much more relaxed, and I think that's really the key, is that for someone disabled like myself, and I'm not speaking for everyone, but for someone disabled like myself, these places are, a godsend, really. You go away for a weekend and you're not worrying about the toilet all the time. You're thinking, well, yeah, I know there's changing places. I can go there. And so, I mean, that wasn't really a question. I guess my other question to Andrew, at least one other question, is how do you feel that, we're delighted to have Pressalit back as a partner. And my question is, how can we support Pressalit in what we do and try and bring Pressalit to a greater range of people in our community?
Yeah, well, that's a very good question. Thanks, Rob. So I think one of the things that really attracts me to Access Advisor is the reports that you do, and how you highlight certain things that need to be changed. And one of the things that we campaign or provide education on is this, or challenge people about, is this assumption that the standard accessible toilet is suitable all the time. And I think, our focus is largely on the architectural community, but it is broader than that. And it's trying to convince people not to just approach things with a tick box exercise. So you won't be surprised to hear me say that most of the time that's what we discover is the approach in the sort of design community, or also the construction community, is, okay, well, it's an accessible toilet. This is what you do. Plop, in it goes, the dock impact. We've done our job. We've been good, haven't we? So we don't have to worry about things. We've done what's required of us. But actually, we'd like to challenge that, and we'd like to point out the difficulties with the standard accessible toilets. And it's not necessarily the jump from a standard accessible toilet to a changing places toilet. It could be something as simple as just telling people, hey, wouldn't it be a good idea just to put 2 hinged arms either side of the toilet in the dock end pack, so that helps people stand up and sit down? Wouldn't it be a good idea to offer perhaps a little bit of height adjustment in some of these accessible toilets, so that we can get different heights for different users, and we can work on that basis that no standard arrangement is going to suit everyone? So it's not necessarily, as I say, going from the dock impact to the changing places, that's quite a big jump. But there are things that we can do incrementally that would really improve the accessibility. Just thinking outside of the box and allowing people to think outside of the box and do that little bit extra. Thinking in terms of perhaps color contrast of supportive and assistive products up against the walls and the floors that they're against, to make sure that we get things right, perhaps for partially sighted people. So there's a whole variety of things that we can do. So Access Advisor being out there, doing the reports that you do, doing it from a lived experience angle as well. So it's not some sort of expert that thinks they know best. I think is a tremendous way that helps Pressalit and helps us get across our message as well.
Thank you. And I think for me, we've talked a lot about bathroom solutions, but I know that when we first met and we met at a place called Flat Spaces, which is holiday accommodation for disabled people with much more complex needs. And I believe Pressalit had a lot of involvement in Flat Spaces. And one of the things that Pressalit also did, and you talked about height adjustable things, was the kitchen area as well. You have a lot of involvement in kitchen accessible kitchen solutions, and I was fascinated. It means that disabled people can actually get involved in kitchens if they want to. Personally, that would be my nightmare. So I try and steer clear of anything accessible in a kitchen. I could burn an egg, I think, sometimes. But I was fascinated by Pressalit and thought what they're doing is wonderful. And what struck me about these solutions is that they don't look like they're beautifully designed as well. The design and is more as important as the function, the form. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. They look good. They don't look like hospital equipment or things like that. So that was something that I was very impressed with.
Yeah. Well, Flat Spaces was a fantastic project. Yeah, so we met Tom Yendel years ago and worked together in designing the bathrooms and the kitchens. I mean, what was being done at Flat Spaces kind of fits into our philosophy, and it was to go beyond the standard arrangements. I mean, if Flat Spaces had, hopefully architects won't feel offended if they're listening in, but if it had been left to architects, they would have gone to the building regulations, they would have done a cut and paste, and you would have ended up with toilets close to the corner. You would have ended up with the minimum requirement, perhaps because of a lack of understanding, or perhaps because of budget restrictions as well. But with Flat Spaces, it's a tremendous site. It's a fantastic holiday accommodation. I only wish there were more Flat Spaces. There were more projects like that. There were more hotel rooms that were offering similar layouts, similar levels of provision, and the same with the kitchen as well. And so, I mean, just as we're trying to encourage independence in bathrooms and toilets, and if we can't encourage independence, and it's about creating safe working environments for carers, same goes for kitchens as well. We like to encourage independence. And so, of course, what that means more often than not is height adjustment of work surfaces. So if you're sat down or standing up, perhaps if you're restricted in height, then surfaces can be brought down or up to your level. And then things like wall cupboards that could be situated above a work surface, they can be brought down for seated users so that they can get to the top shelf as well. Flat Spaces is a tremendous site, and we were very honoured and privileged to be involved with that.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Rob. So I just wanted to ask to the audience, if you have any question to any of us, please feel free to add them, and we will try to answer them. Before I jump into my next question, I wanted to share our sponsorship information with the audience, and I think it will help you to understand how you can support us and how we can support you. Like Pressalit, they are supporting us, and we're also supporting Pressalit for different type of campaign and all those things. So we are building our Access Advisor new site, and it will be launched with a live program as well, but we are just nearly finishing touching our new sites. So if you go to the when we launch it, you can go to the package section, and you will see that there will be a video over there. We talk about Access Advisor and what we do and how it can benefit ourselves, and as well as our clients, and as well as the people that we wanted to serve. And the next section, you will find different sponsor packages, starting from Gateway Sponsor to Impact and Inclusion Sponsor. And you know that we have come up with this idea to get this business ongoing. There are many other companies. They are working in accessibility and all those things, but we think that we are unique because we are creating databases. And thank you, Rob, that till now we have like 3,000 places database on our site. So anyone they are wanted to access to accessible place, they will find it from our databases. And with our new site, it will be more accessible, and you will find it easily where you wanted to go and how you wanted to leave your review. So if you are watching this webinar and you wanted to share this webinar with your colleagues, friends, or any businesses, if they wanted to support us, you can support us with 3 sponsorship packages, and as well as you can also be a partner with us, supporting our activities in different ways. So that's all my introduction with the our package. And thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Rob, for joining this live webinar. We have another 10 to 15 minutes to talk about more about Pressalit. As you know, we are highlighting Pressalit today, and we have other sponsors, and we're going to be bringing them. We already brought HEX Production on the last events, and we are talking about Andrew today for Pressalit, and we're going to be bringing more sponsors. Those people, they are helping us to get our project ongoing. And you know that without funding, it's not possible for me and Rob to continue this project to the next levels, because every steps we take require investment, and as well as a lot of other things. We also have a donate section on the page. So if people wanted to go over there and they wanted to donate, they can do it. And thank you, Andrew and Rob. So now, Andrew, I have another questions. How do Pressalit solution adapt to user evolving needs?
Well, yeah, evolving needs is a very apt word. So something simple like a shower seat or a height adjustable sink or a set of height adjustable arms, because they adapt in height, they can change as and when user requirements change. So it could be that, for example, someone is ambulant at the moment. They're able to walk around. They choose to walk around. So they might need the sink at a higher level. But if they have a condition which is progressive or changeable, evolves to something else perhaps in the future, maybe they're going to be sat in a chair later on, then the basin or the height adjustable hinged arms or the shower seat can be changed in height as and when required. So the Pressalit solutions that we have are largely adaptable so that they future-proof the bathroom or the kitchen. So when needs change, you don't need to take everything off the wall and remount things and to reconfigure, the individual elements within the bathroom will adapt and change as and when required.
Thank you very much, Andrew. My next questions. You know that we talk about compliance, and UK or other first world countries, government or organization, they are very much into compliance. And for me, compliance is just tick boxes, isn't it? But what is true accessibility in relation with compliance?
Well, compliance always doesn't provide true accessibility. You're right. I mean, certainly in the UK, we can be quite prescriptive, which has its pros, but it also has its downside. I've perhaps been quite critical of the standard arrangements that we get in the building regulations, but the big advantage of that, having a prescriptive layout in the building regulations, is that at least that is put in place. And there are some countries which don't have such recommendations in their building code. And so you don't have the minimum requirement put in. So in many respects, we should be grateful that there are perhaps minimum requirements. And so it's a good thing. But the downside is when people won't go beyond that, either because they're scared to, because they think, okay, well, I don't know any better, and therefore I don't want to mess around with what is in the building code or regulations, or because they don't want to spend the money to improve things.
I think that's a very important point. That at least by having standards, we have a starting point, and there is the possibility to push on with those standards and improve those standards every day, every month, and try and let's get better at what we do. And by people saying what they need and having input into those standards, we can hopefully make a difference. And another thing that you touched on, I think was important, was it said one size doesn't fit all. And that's true with our accessibility reviews as well. We can tell, someone can review something and it might be right for them, but it doesn't mean it's right for everybody else. So what we're doing is offering suggestions or informative guides as to how we found it, rather than saying you will find this, because I don't have the same disability as someone else. I mean, even someone with my disability will have varying needs and lesser or worse needs than myself. So we are trying to provide accessibility solutions for everyone, not just one size fits all. And I think that's a really important point that you made.
Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Andrew and Rob, because when you apply for accessibility, if I think about a council, okay, I have seen that most of them, their compliance is just like tick boxes. That you can have this, you can have that, you can have that. But when is just like individually, like you assess individual person, and then facilitate that person need to your design, to your accessibility, mechanism, then it makes a person specific. But otherwise, if you have like one standard for everyone, that will not fit for purpose. And that's why disabled people like me or like Rob or anyone else, we are facing enormous struggle, because we are being kept on a box, because this is the things we will do and this is the things you will get. But it's not like that they will assess specifically my need and then lay out all those things. So as a company and a leading organization in the accessible toilets and kitchen, how do you overcome this barrier? Like when you talk to your clients, when you talk to the authority, how you administrated these gaps?
Yeah, well, I think sometimes it's good to have some catchy recommendations or some take-homes that people can have that challenge assumptions and challenge this immediate response, which is just to go to the building code and put that in. So when we're speaking with stakeholders, designers, architects, people like that, one of our statements is that if we know who the user is of the bathroom or the kitchen, and we're confident that nothing is going to change with their requirements, then you kind of just put in a fixed arrangement of equipment which is going to be suitable for that person. But if you don't know who the user is, or if you think that person, or you know that person has a changeable condition, then you design for adaptation. You design for that room to adapt to those changing requirements. And so we bring this message to a variety of different people, and that's how we challenge this tick box mentality, if you can call it that. That, I think, is more powerful when we're away from public access. But when we're within the realms of public access, it is admittedly a very difficult thing to bring to people and to challenge that, that sort of just knee-jerk reaction to go to just what's in Part M. We can also tell people, we can remind people that Part M of the building regulations is the minimum requirement, and we can tell them where the British standard BS 8300, which is the standard on access to buildings for accessibility, and also Part M of the building regulations, which is also the same. We can tell them where they say, you know, try something a little bit different. So, for example, if the toilet is not very close to the corner, then Part M tells you put two hinge arms either side. Yeah. Part M does tell you this is a minimum requirement. So we can challenge those assumptions, but admittedly, it's more difficult in the public access realm because people are scared to get it wrong. And they're scared perhaps of the building control officer that can pick them up and say, this isn't in the building regulations, do it again or put it right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know we're coming up to the end of our time, so I just wanted to reiterate my thanks to Andrew and Pressalit for really supporting Access Advisor and the way that you supported us in the past, and we're glad to be working together again. It's really good, and thank you for that.
You're more than welcome, and we're just happy to be working with someone who has the same ethos and ideas and thinking that we do.
Yeah, that was a great pleasure to talking to you, Andrew and Rob, today. My last ask, do you wanted to say anything to our audience, Andrew?
Yeah, well, I think continue challenging. Continue challenging the status quo, and you won't always win. We don't, but continue going for excellence. Continue going for something that actually meets user requirements, whatever that is, for one individual or for a variety of different people. Continue going for solutions that encourage independence. And if that isn't possible, go for solutions that provide a safe and comfortable working environment for the helpers that are working alongside the people that they're looking after. So that's very much part of what we're about, and Access Advisor as well. And I'd want that in the wider society as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Rob, do you want to say anything to our audience?
Yeah, I'll just reiterate what Andrew said. And from an Access Advisor point of view, you know, please support us. We're across all the socials. You know, Access Advisor isn't me. It's not Dr. Shah. It's the community. It's the 1,000 people or so that are on Facebook. It's all of our YouTube subscribers, all of our followers on Blue Sky, all our business contacts on LinkedIn. You know, we're trying to create a sustainable business, and we can't do that without your help. So please follow Access Advisor, and please support Pressalit as well when you can.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Rob. Andrew, just stay on the line. We're going to say bye-bye to the audience, and then we will see you bye-bye offline. So thank you, everyone, for joining today's live webinar. I'm your host, Dr. 𝗘𝗃 𝗃𝗃, and we have Rob, Trent, and we're going to be saying you bye-bye. We will welcome you next month our special Christmas live events, and we're going to be bringing some guests over there. Until next month, please stay tuned, and please, 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 we need your support. So that any form of support you can give it to us, that will help us to bring this initiative to the next stage. And you know that to work on this accessibility, without funding and without support, we cannot grow. So until next episode, thank you very much for joining today's live, and we will welcome you to the next episode of Access Advisor Accessibility Live Events. Thank you, and bye-bye.